The Greedy Man and the Final Judgment. Deep in the heart of the American South, the town of Black Hollow was shrouded by thick forests and red dirt roads. The people of the town lived in silent fear, not because of wild beasts or marauding bands of criminals, but because of one man, Ezekiel Boone. Ezekiel Boone was the owner of the largest plantation in the area. He not only owned hundreds of acres of land but also held the lives of countless people in his hands. Farmers, destitute souls, even widows who had lost their husbands in war, all had once been prey to his insatiable greed. With both legal and illegal methods, he seized land, forced people to sell their property for a pittance, and drove those who resisted into dire poverty. He never believed in the concept of karma. For him, power was the only thing that mattered. Ezekiel lived in an imposing mansion made of red brick, its roof blackened with soot. But inside, the air was always cold. His servants often whispered about strange sounds coming from the old storage room, where he kept his land deeds and shady contracts. Some even claimed that at night, they heard faint cries, as if the souls of the wronged were trapped within the walls. One day, the town welcomed a mysterious man. He wore a long black cloak, and his tall figure and stern face seemed carved from stone. When he entered the town's only tavern, everyone fell silent. The stranger slowly set his bag down on a table, his eyes scanning the room before he spoke in a deep, measured voice. "I am Judge Gabriel. I have come to conduct a trial." No one had ever heard of him, but no one dared question him. There was an undeniable authority in his presence that caused even the bravest to step back. Word of the stranger quickly reached Ezekiel. At first, he laughed it off, thinking the man was just another wandering fool seeking attention. But when he realized that the trial Gabriel spoke of was to settle a land dispute between him and the Good family, a poor family he had recently forced off their only piece of land, his smile faded. That night, Ezekiel felt something was wrong. When he looked into the mirror, he saw himself standing there, but his reflection was distorted, not fully resembling him. Strange faces flickered in the glass, faces he had seen before. Perhaps those of the people he had wronged. In the dead of night, he heard a knock at the door. When he opened it, no one was there, but on the floor lay a crumpled piece of old paper, with a message written in red ink. "You will face the actions of your own making, before the final door closes." That night, he couldn't sleep. Whispers echoed through the walls. His window was open, even though he clearly remembered locking it. Crows circled the roof, cawing with a deathly, rasping sound. The trial was held in the town's abandoned church. When Ezekiel entered, he noticed that everyone he had wronged was present. But something was odd. Their eyes held not hatred, but a quiet expectation. Judge Gabriel sat high on a platform. He didn't need to strike a gavel, nor did he require lawyers or prosecutors. He simply gazed at Ezekiel and spoke. "Ezekiel Boone, you have amassed your wealth on the suffering of others. You have stolen, betrayed, and shown no remorse. Now, it is time for you to face true justice." Ezekiel laughed. "You have no evidence to convict me. The law belongs to the strong." Gabriel shook his head. "Not the law of men, but the law of the Almighty." Suddenly, the very air around them began to tremble. The walls of the church cracked open, and the ground beneath Ezekiel split apart, revealing a dark pit. From the shadows, blackened hands reached up, pulling him into the abyss. Ezekiel's screams echoed, but no one moved to help. He was swallowed by the darkness, and all that remained was a haunting silence. Years later, the stories of Ezekiel Boone were still whispered around Black Hollow. Some claimed they had seen his shadow in nightmares, heard his voice calling from the deep forest. Anyone who set foot on his land felt an unnatural cold, as if someone were watching. And whenever a greedy soul appeared in town, people would tell the tale of Ezekiel Boone's fate, a reminder that no one could escape true justice. It was said that if one stood before his old house on a full moon night, they could hear the sound of nails scratching against the wooden door, the sighs of the souls he had wronged, and sometimes, a deep, haunting voice would rise from the darkness. It is your turn now.